For years now, the conservative media has been discussing the war on Christmas.
Any war on Christmas?
There is a war on Christmas, but it goes back much further than any pundit I've seen has been willing to admit. The war on Christmas didn't start with woke liberals refusing to say Merry Christmas and instead saying Happy Holidays. No, this war has far more fundamental roots. Today we will be discussing the real war on Christmas. I'm going to say it. The war on Christmas began with a war on Advent. And while I'm aware most Protestants do not observe Advent, nonetheless, the absence of Advent from the American culture has led to the modern war on Christmas. In America, holidays start earlier and earlier every year. Halloween decor goes on sale in mid-August, and before Halloween even happens, the stores have already liquidated those sections and replaced them with Christmas decor. Christmas music hits the radio by November 1st, almost 2 full months before the Christmas season even begins. People set up their Christmas trees on November 26th, and on December 26th, the second day of Christmas, those trees are on the curb. For Catholics, this should appear totally upside down. In our traditions, Christmas trees should be put up a few days before Christmas Eve and stay up until somewhere between January 6th, the Feast of the Three Kings, and February 2nd, 40 days after the birth of Christ, commemorating the presentation at the temple. But America in general has no patience. Advent, like Lent, its sister season, is all about patience, waiting, repentance, fasting, prayer, and delayed gratification. These are things that have been thoroughly scrubbed from most of the modern American ethos. People live for instant gratification. They thrive upon the daily dose of dopamine they get when they check their phone and their social medias. They have no patience to wait 4 weeks before the celebration of Christmas. And once the first day of Christmas arrives, they are already pushing on to the next thing, whether that be the New Year and then Valentine's Day, another hijacked Catholic holiday. So if you're unfamiliar with the season of Advent, you're probably asking yourself, what difference does it make? How is it celebrated? To some, Advent as a liturgical season simply impacts the decorations, vestment colors, and themes behind the music and readings at Mass. And let's not forget the lighting of the Advent wreath each Sunday. But this is just the surface level of Advent. Like Lent, much of the change you experience during this season must come from your own choice, your own free will. This is a time for sacrifice, fasting, and prayer. Whether that be incorporating a new agenda into your prayer life, adding a devotion to a specific saint, or giving up a certain vice, Advent is a time for self-improvement through prayer and self-sacrifice. But Advent is also a season with several feast days with their own traditions to lean into on the road to the Christmas season. The first of these is St. Nicholas Day on December 6th. St. Nicholas, of course, is where the modern interpretation of Santa Claus comes from. Santa coming from the Latin word for saint, and Klaus coming from the shortening of Niklaus, Nicholas. For Catholics, these two traditions are still separated. This is important as it allows us to raise children to still enjoy the American traditions behind Santa Claus while retaining the focus on Christ's birth when it comes to Christmas. St. Nicholas comes and leaves presents in your stockings on the eve of December 6th, while on December 25th, we are much more focused on Christ's birthday. Establishing this separation helps keep children from confusing these two interpretations of Christmas, but it also gives them an extra day to look forward to during the Advent season. The next of these is the Immaculate Conception on December 8th. This is a holy day of obligation in which we celebrate the conception of Mary without original sin. Catholics believe Mary was conceived without original sin and was created with the intent to one day give birth to Jesus Christ, the Son of God. I could make a whole separate video on this topic in the future, but we're going to try and keep this video short and sweet. On this day, Catholics go to church no matter what day of the week it falls on. At Mass, we hear the gospel about the Annunciation, where the angel Gabriel visits Mary and tells her that she will soon give birth to Jesus. This helps remind us what Advent is all about, preparing ourselves for the coming of Christ at Christmas. St. Lucia's Day, or some call it St. Lucy's Day, is the third Advent feast day which helps lead the way to Christmas and is celebrated on December 13th. St. Lucia was a virgin martyr during the persecutions of the early church who was killed under the Roman Emperor Diocletian. From her story, we get another Advent tradition in which the girls of a house dress up in white and wear a wreath with candles upon their head as they deliver cookies and rolls to the rest of the family. While St. Lucy wore a candlelit wreath as she delivered food to starving Christians, this also represents the coming of the light of Christ into the darkness of the world that is Advent. These traditions are largely absent from most of American culture. For most Americans, there is no time in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, as Black Friday shopping starts the very next day. It's diminished what the Advent season should be into simply another tool of the consumerist state that we now live in. Advent should not be about buying, but instead about giving and sacrifice. If more people were to take Advent seriously, it would deal a major blow to the consumerist culture that has taken all that is sacred from this season. So going forward, look at Thanksgiving not as a big meal before a marathon of Christmas shopping, but instead as a parallel to Fat Thursday, before a season of fasting and prayer in preparation for the even greater feast of Thanksgiving on Christmas. When American culture accepts this change, we will have won the real war on Christmas, the war on Advent. So God bless, and have a blessed Advent and a Merry Christmas.